Once the tallest structure west of the Mississippi, the Seattle Space Needle is iconic. It's a 605-foot tall observation tower. The Space Needle has been a landmark tourist attraction in Seattle, welcoming more than 60 million visitors since it opened on April the 21st, 1962. The Space Needle, a modernistic totem of Seattle's World Fair, was initially conceived from a doodle made on a napkin by Edward Carlson during a visit to Germany in 1959. He saw the potential of a space-age tower as a symbol for the fair and the Seattle skyline. It cost $4.5 million to build and precisely 400 days to construct this marvel. Today we discover the Space Needle, its history, and what it took to make this wonder of the world. I'm your host Ryan Sokash, and you're watching It's History. In 1959, Seattle hotel executive Edward E. Carlson, who was a chief organizer of the 1962 World's Fair, traveled to Stuttgart, Germany, where he was inspired by a broadcast tower featuring a restaurant. So in a hotel cafe, he doodled an idea on a napkin, featuring a dominating central structure. And it was this moment of imagination that would become the permanent centerpiece for Seattle's World Fair and an enduring symbol of the Seattle skyline. He called it a Space Needle. And it wouldn't be long after that this doodle would become a reality. You see, the World's Fair started in the 19th century as an international exposition displaying the finest technologies in the world. Decades later, the event shifted its focus from trade technology to technology that worked to better society. And in 1962, from April to October, Seattle finally had the opportunity to showcase what it had to offer. But with innovation comes challenges. Carlson and his supporters soon found that moving the symbol from the doodle to the drawing board and then to the construction phase was far from easy. The first obstacle was the structure's final design. Carlson's initial sketch underwent many transformations, including variations that resembled a landed UFO, a tethered balloon, and even a cocktail shaker with a tram ferrying visitors to the top. Architect John Graham Jr., fresh from his success in designing the world's first auto-centric shopping mall, Seattle's Northgate, and experimenting with a revolving bar in Hawaii, focused on a flying saucer-shaped top house. Graham's team worked on sketches and ideas before a final design was reached just a year and a half before the World's Fair. Then architect Victor Steinbrook came up with the tower's shape based on an abstract sculpture called the Feminine One. Design issues aside, the officials needed to decide where this Space Needle would be placed. You see, the World's Fair required that each town builds its exhibits within a designated fairgrounds. Luckily, right before the fair occurred, the city found a plot of land away from its other tall buildings that allowed for the immense structure to stand with elevators traveling up and down its stem to the restaurant and lookout situated at the top. This plot of land was sold to investors for just $75,000 in 1961, just 13 months before the opening of the World's Fair. Financing was yet another challenge. Promoters tried to gain interest from King County to fund this construction, but the county declined, so 5 Northwest business leaders formed the Pentagram Corporation and took over the project. Construction began in April and progressed quickly, with an underground foundation being poured into a hole that was 30 feet deep by 120 feet across. It took 467 cement trucks an entire day to fill the hole in what was the West's largest continuous concrete pours ever attempted at the time. This pour resulted in precisely 5,600 tons of concrete. Once completed, the foundation weighed close to 9,550 tons, the same weight as the Space Needle itself, establishing the center of gravity just 5 feet above the ground. There is a total of 74,000 bolts holding the tower together. The colors were also strategically picked in keeping with the 21st century theme of the World's Fair. The final coats of paint were dubbed Astronaut White for the legs, Orbital Olive for the core of the structure, Reentry Red for the halo, and Galaxy Gold for the sunburst and the rooftop. Because of Seattle's placement along the famous Ring of Fire, it is susceptible to dangerous earthquakes, so builders constructed the Space Needle to withstand the elements, such as wind gusts up to 200 miles per hour and earthquakes below a 9.1 magnitude. But all of the troubles and efforts were well worth it, as from the top of this tower, one can enjoy views of the Olympic and Cascade Mountains, along with Mount Rainier, Mount Baker, Elliott Bay, and the surrounding islands. Visitors can reach the top of the Space Needle using the elevators, which travel at 10 miles per hour. It was built with 25 lightning rods and can easily withstand frequent strikes. Now, as you may imagine, the Space Needle was not the only construction built for the fair that year. The entire Seattle Center, from its tall-legged science pavilion to the monorail, or what is known as the Key Arena, is all thanks to the 1962 celebration. Overall, the basic structure of the Space Needle was completed in December, and so it was. The festivities began. On April the 21st, 1962, the Space Needle officially opened for the first day of the World's Fair, and it's estimated that the tower saw 2.65 million visitors during that initial expo. The tower's base housed an exhibit devoted to destiny through the ages of man during the fair, and the mast that initially topped the Space Needle lit up at night in rainbow colors. Many celebrities, including Elvis Presley, John Wayne, Bob Hope, Neil Armstrong, and Walt Disney, were in attendance. Initially, this tower had its critics, but Seattle and the world quickly adopted it as the city's unofficial symbol. The Space Needle's popularity grew massively, and soon it was seen everywhere in film and television. The Needle's been featured in 3 major commercial motion pictures, such as It Happens at the World Fair in 1962 with Elvis Presley, The Parallax View in 1974 with Warren Beatty and Austin Powers, and The Spy Who Shagged Me in 1999 with Mike Myers. Surprisingly, many Seattle-based movies are filmed in Vancouver, British Columbia, due to the city's similar architecture and the fact that filming up north costs significantly less than in Seattle. This financially savvy approach still doesn't stop the filmmakers from editing in Seattle's signature landmarks. The Towering Needle is the centerpiece for practically every show shot in Seattle. The Space Needle stands in the back of Fraser's apartment in Fraser, and next to the hospital in Gray's Autonomy. The Needle is a hotspot for many celebrities, including the original cast of Star Wars, John Travolta, Michael Douglas, and Bruce Lee. But the notoriety does not stop with motion picture. Everyone knows that music is a massive part of Seattle, and many Seattle bands have visited or performed on the Needle, including Nirvana and Pearl Jam. However, not all musicians were willing to visit. In 1974, John Lennon did not go up, commenting, quote, "I don't like heights," which I imagine is the exact opposite sentiment of all the stuntmen and women who have stopped in over the years. The Space Needle provided a prop for many numerous stunts, including high wire acts and parachute jumps. 6 daredevils have leapt from the tower since its opening in a sport known as base jumping, an activity legal only with prior authorization. 4 of them were part of an authorized promotion in 1996, and one of the jumpers got injured and broke a bone in her back while attempting the stunt. The other 2 jumped illegally and were ultimately arrested. Sadly, some people also elected to end their life at this magnificent tower. Paul D. Baker was the first person to jump from the Space Needle, committing suicide on March the 4th, 1974. Mary Wolfe also jumped from the tower that year, on May the 25th. Following the 2 1974 suicides, netting beneath and improved fencing around the observation deck were installed. But despite these barrier additions, another suicide by Dixie Reeder occurred on July the 5th, 1978. History also recalls some rather lighthearted stunts, such as the students from Tolt High School who chewed $150 worth of gum to create a chain of 14,986 wrappers, which they then dangled from the Needle on November the 20th, 1965. Artist/historian Paul Dorpat suspended a 250-foot universal worm from the tower in October of 1971. Then, artist Alan Landau lit it up like a flying saucer for a science fiction festival in 1978. On June the 14th, 1974, at the height of the streaking craze, a naked man dangled from a small plane as it circled the Space Needle at restaurant level. Which brings us to our next chapter. One of the most notable things about the Space Needle is its restaurant. The original name of the restaurant was the Eye of the Needle, after the name Top of the Needle was rejected. There have been 3 restaurants at the Space Needle since its opening. Eye of the Needle between 1962 and 1979, Emerald Suit 1980 to 1999, and Sky City between 2000 and 2017. The Space Needle is currently working with a world-renowned restaurant designer to reimagine what dinner might look like in such a unique setting. But there's also the Loop, which occurs at the lower level of the Space Needle. The Loop Lounge is a 21 to enter venue, and the floor orbits while its guests enjoy the world's finest and only revolving glass floor for a cocktail experience like nothing else. If you're not interested in an all-glass base, you can also check out the floor-to-ceiling glass experience at the cafe on the upper level of the Space Needle. This cafe features an espresso bar, beer and wine, plus local treats. The Space Needle is known for its massive firework productions. It's been hosting the New Year's at the Needle show ever since 1982. Each year, crews mount pyrotechnics through the entire Space Needle structure from top to bottom to transform the Space Needle landmark into one enormous firework show, which is then broadcasted regionally and picked up internationally as the end cap of the Sydney to Seattle global firework production. In May of 1996, the Space Needle welcomed the Olympic torch relay with a special fireworks show as it passed through Seattle to Atlanta for the Summer Games. In 2013, during the Super Bowl, the Space Needle shut off fireworks after every Seattle Seahawks touchdown. It got to the point where the pyrotechnic team had to ration them so there would be enough for the end of the game, as the Seahawks won 43-8. The tower has also hosted countless notable events over the years. For example, the 25th anniversary of the Sub Pop record label, which launched some of the most iconic acts of grunge music in the late 80s and early 90s, pride events with a strong emphasis on marriage equality, and the annual charity stair climb, known as the Space Needle's Base to Space. And this is the only time that the stairs leading up to the observation deck are open to the public. Now, as you might imagine, with millions of visitors, restaurants, stunts, parties, this tower has seen a fair bit of wear and tear and is often the subject of serious renovation. In September of 2017, the Space Needle commenced construction on the most extensive renovation project in its history, the Century Project. The renovation aimed to reveal the tower's internal structure and harken back to the original conceptual sketches while expanding and improving its views. The Space Needle remained open to the public during its 360-degree, quote, space lift, revealing its new look in the late summer of 2018. Guests are now surrounded by 2 breathtaking, multi-level, floor-to-ceiling glass viewing experiences, including an outdoor observation level with open-air glass walls and glass benches. The stairs now connect the upper observation level to the Loop Lounge, which is the world's first and only rotating glass floor. And it's a good thing this tower is cared for. You see, the people of Seattle take pride in the newly updated iconic landmark. From the purple and gray tones of the University of Washington to the blue and green colors of the Seattle Seahawks, the Needle is frequently decorated for the city's events. And it's easy to see that the newest set of renovations pair well with the city's excitement. Overall, the Space Needle has been set right in the middle of a rainy, windy Seattle. It's closed occasionally due to storms, including the Columbus Day storm in 1961, But it continues moving forward. On December the 31st, 1999, the Legacy Light, or Skybeam, was added to the Space Needle. It's a powerful beam of light that is used to cast rays on the tower in remembrance of national holidays or special occasions. Also, in 1999, the Seattle Landmarks Preservation Board approved the designation of the Space Needle as a historic landmark. The assignment was made official on April the 19th by the Seattle City Council. Curiously, it was the first structure approved based on all 6 designation criteria, ranging from architectural merit to historical and physical prominence. Ironically, this symbol of the 21st century greeted the actual 21st century as a monument to the past. And with that, I invite you to check out our video about Seattle's secret underground, or hit that subscribe button to catch our new videos every Thursday and Saturday. And until next time, this is Ryan Sokash, signing off.